Welcome back to Tabletop Mayhem. I'm Saya, and if you enjoy these quick tips, tricks, and story building advice, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out. I think it's fair to say that I'm a huge fan of games within D&D, a game within a game. Adding a game, a good game, can save a boring session, can create some interesting plot hooks, or it can just be a wonderful role-playing moment that your players will never forget. But do you know who loves games even more than I do? The Fae. In this video, I'm going to share with you a whimsical game of fate that the players find themselves playing with the Fae. Playing games with the Fae? What could go wrong? The game is called The Fate of Favor or Folly, and it's perfect for adding a touch of magic or mischief to your campaign. How do our players find themselves in a situation where they are willingly playing a game with the Fae? This could happen because 1, they don't know any better, or 2, they have to because they need something from the Fae. Let's go with option 2. They need aid from the Fae. It's really up to you how your players found themselves in this situation and whatever is appropriate for your campaign. The players can find their ever-elusive Fae in a enchanted Fae glade or an ethereal Fae court full of magical ambiance. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is the game. When the players come face to face with their Fae, they ask for their assistance. And of course the Fae agree, but in true Fae tradition, they only agree if the players play a game with them, a game called The Fate of Favor or Folly. They are told that it's a test of wits through riddles that will decide their destiny. Wait, if Fae asking players to answer riddles? Boring. And yeah, you would be right, that would be incredibly boring. But there's a special little Fae twist to this riddle game. The players agree to answer riddles to determine their fate. As the Fae describes the game to the adventurers, they also lay out 2 incredibly beautiful and intricate sets of cards. These cards resonate with magical energy. These cards are the twists. For each riddle answered successfully, the player will choose a card from the first set of cards. For each riddle answered not successfully or not in the time frame allotted by the Fae, they will draw a card from the second set of cards. The first set of cards is called the Fate of Favor, the second, the Fate of Folly. Once the adventurer touches the card, the intricate design on the back of the card begins to swirl and shimmer, and the adventurer can tell they are being touched by magic. Whatever the chosen effect is from the card will now affect the player for a duration of time indicated by the card. And in addition, another Fae trick. The effects of the card are the only aid, the only assistance the Fae are willing to give to the adventurers. And that is all. No Fae game would be complete without a Fae trick. And this one's a good one. Players are now left with a Fae gift or a Fae folly for a duration of time. What would these look like? The Fae's favored pile would contain cards that had beneficial effects or rewards. It would have really odd and unique advantages for your players. I want to give you a couple examples that work really well for Fate of Favor Fae gifts. This could be effects like Wings of Whimsy, which grants the character ethereal butterfly-like wings for 24 hours. These wings allow for limited flight, hovering up to 30 feet off the ground, and enhance the character's grace by giving them advantages on dexterity checks and saving throws. The key here is to make your players want to play this game. You want to make them want to gamble with the Fae, which is an immensely dangerous concept. But the benefits need to be great enough that they're willing to take this gamble. And giving your players the ability to fly for the next 24 hours can be an immensely powerful tool for them. Instead of wings, it could be a cloak, a glimmering cloak. This cloak shimmers with a magical glow. For 24 hours, the cloak provides advantages on stealth checks, and once per hour, the wearer can become invisible for 1 minute. Another would be a Fae's Favor. appearing as a small glowing amulet that pulses with light. It grants the character a boon in the form of a one-time reroll. This can be used on any roll, attack, skill check, or saving throw within 24 hours. If the reroll is used and successful, the character also gains a temporary +2 bonus to that roll's result. Another gift is the Laughter of the Fae. The Laughter of Fae takes its shape as a sparkling enchanted mask that radiates a faint merry glow. It causes uncontrollable fits of laughter for anyone within 30 feet radius of the character wearing the mask for the next hour. This has the effect of causing enemies to be distracted and may provide advantages on social interactions as laughter spreads cheer. The last gift of favor that the Fae may give the adventurous would be an enchanted pair of boots. These enchanted boots would grant the character the ability to walk on any surface, including water, walls, or ceiling, for the next 24 hours. Additionally, the boots provide a +10 bonus to movement speed. Please feel free to tailor these items to your specific parties and their needs. And now for the fun part, the Fate of Follies. These cards add a troublesome effect to your players for 24 hours. This would include the card of sticky situations. The player now finds themselves to be incredibly sticky, which makes movement as well as handling objects very difficult for the next 24 hours. Another would be the card of Confounding Whispers. The player now speaks in riddles and confusing sentences for the rest of the day. Another idea is the card of Illusionary Doppelganger, which creates a magical duplicate that mimics the character's actions, but it just doesn't interact with the environment. You can see that this would be very frustrating to a character that utilizes stealth. The last example I have for the Fate of Follies would be the card of Phages. Now this causes minor magical mishaps, so minor explosions of glitter here and there, and harmless body modifications. Can you imagine one of your players being in a really important conversation with an NPC, a king or a queen, and as they're trying to convince them of their cause, their ears gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. This would be hilarious, and I would love to see a group of players trying to deal with this while also trying to deal with something more important. Just a quick tip. When we are creating our follies, we want to make sure that our players are not utterly miserable. Super annoyed? Absolutely, but we don't want to make them utterly useless in a combat scenario. So if they're going to the Fae for assistance, they need aid, we want to make sure that our follies, in case they do fail riddles, are not to the point where they're unable to actually help out in combat situations. So just keep that in mind. Like, this is supposed to be fun and silly. This isn't supposed to be absolutely miserable for them. Unless you're that type of DM, then you do you. But if this is just for fun, the players do not need anything from the Fae. They do not need any aid, any assistance. They don't even need to seek the Fae out. The stakes are entirely different. The Fae can now seek the players out. So maybe a mysterious stranger shows up in the middle of the night at the player's camp and tries to lure them into playing a game with them. Or the players are a few drinks in at a tavern and a beautiful lady sitting in the corner of the bar lures them over to try to get them to play a game with her. The gifts of Fate and Folly can be entirely different. Now they don't have to be really important, thought out magical gifts or abilities. They could just be really silly things, like now the player has been gifted the ability to speak with squirrels for the next 24 hours, but that's the only thing the player can speak to for the next 24 hours. Any attempts of speaking common comes out as cute little squeaks. So this could definitely be very silly and very fun. I want to give you a really quick variation of this game because I do know that some players absolutely hate riddles and some DMs also hate riddles. This could easily be modified into a dice game, a gambling game that could be found at a gambling hall. Now, regardless if this is a Fae gambling hall or this is just a regular gambling hall that a Fae happens to be in, which I feel like is plausible, this is definitely something that can be used over riddles. You would just have your players roll d6s and you would have certain numbers tied to the cards, but you can also add an element of gambling, have players maybe place bets on whether they're going to roll odds or evens or the exact number, and therefore not only are they playing a game of fate, but they're also earning a little gold. This is definitely very viable and no riddles involved at all. Well, there you have it. Whether it's a game of riddles or a roll of dice, a Fate, a Favor, or Follies is anything but your typical drinking game that you would find in a D&D game. There's something here for everyone, regardless if you're a player looking for a new challenge or a DM looking to add a little Fey whimsy to your next game. This game does just that. I'm curious, could your current D&D character be tempted into playing this game? And if you were a DM, what changes would you make to better implement this into your campaign? And lastly, what is the funniest favor or folly that you can think of? I really want to add it to my list of the things that I put my players through, so please share it in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching and happy adventuring.